So welcome everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am George Clark. I'm the principal here at Lomond. I am in my second year here at Lomond. I want to say second complete year, but with everything happening, nothing seems normal, so nothing seems complete, but that's okay. Prior to being here at Lomond, I was an assistant principal at the high school for 3 years. Tina, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Tina McCauley. I'm Mr. Clark's right-hand person, or the assistant principal. I've been at Lomond for 6 years and I've been in the district for 20 years. So I know many things. If you have a question, don't hesitate to call and ask me.
All right, beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. So just hold off for just a minute here. Oh, it's too much stuff up here. Okay, here it is. All right, so part of the introductions, we're finished with that. And we're gonna go right into what does Lomond look like? And everybody should know from the external, it's a beautiful building, and internally we do a very good job with our custodial team of keeping it up to par, keeping it up to snuff, trying to keep it as clean as possible. They're working around the clock. We have a makerspace coming to the building, and hopefully we'll have time to talk about that's going to require a little renovation in one of our main meeting areas in the building. But your kindergarten students will probably be the first group of students to have their hands on that space this year. So that's something that we're excited about. The building consists of, obviously we have a gymnasium, a music room, an art room. We have a cafeteria that we also utilize as an auditorium space. It's kind of like a flex room, if you will, multi-purpose room. And also go back to the gymnasium, because I know Dr. Herbrook mentioned champions before care and after care. That's the space that we utilize to provide that service in the gymnasium. We have anticipate, should I say, to have a total of 4 sections of kindergarten next year. So that seems to be the number that we've had in the last few years. So we're based on registration. Obviously, that determines our number of sections. So we're looking at 4 sections, and then I'm going to give you a brief look at what some of the kindergarten rooms look like currently during the pandemic. This classroom, this is Mrs. B, is what we call her, Mrs. B's classroom, and as you can see, we have desks, we have boxes. Each student has a box to keep their supplies in, because when you lift the desk up with the plastic dividers on it, sometimes the dividers may slip off or what have you not. So teachers determined that these boxes will work just fine. The students could decorate it and personalize it themselves, and it serves its purpose. As you can see, the desks are spaced out. We're roughly at about 5.5, 6 feet away from each other in this classroom. This is Mrs. Marinza's classroom, which is on the 2nd floor. Her classroom was one of our largest classrooms in the building. So as you can see, she has desks, 6-foot desks in the classroom, and each student seated is at opposite ends of the table. Obviously, I'm sorry, I said desk. At the opposite ends of tables are 6 feet apart from each other, with the dividers as an additional barrier between students. And if you can see off to the right-hand side, you can actually see Mrs. Marinzik back there waving. It's like Flying Waldo, right? How do we catch that picture, Miss McCauley? Good grief.
That's Miss Nancy for you, Mr. Clark.
And then we're gonna jump right in, because again, time purposes, but we would give you much more in-depth information, but that's to come on building tours and stuff as we get closer to the fall and closer to the beginning of the school year. But I know you guys are probably wondering what the curriculum is about, and Ms. McCauley is going to jump right in and discuss that.
So at Lomond, and actually in all 5 buildings, elementary buildings, we use what's called the Caring School Community. It's our social emotional learning curriculum. So the teachers start off the morning with a morning meeting where they're checking in on how the kids are feeling for that day. They also learn social skills. So what do you do when a friend is upset? And they use that curriculum throughout the school year. We also prior to the pandemic, would do cross pods, so cross grade level interactions. So the little ones got to meet the older teachers and work with the older students. In kindergarten and first grade, we use Foundations, which is our phonics-based program that is used throughout all of those classrooms. We use Be a Writer. Be a Writer is used in all 5 grade levels, and it takes children through learning the writing process. In kindergarten, it starts off with drawing pictures, learning how to start identifying and writing phonetically what they're seeing in the pictures. This past year, we piloted Context for Learning Mathematics, where it's more of a conceptual-based learning for math. The teachers loved it, the kids loved it. So with the Context for Learning, the student, there's a read aloud that goes along with learning the math concepts. The kids make connections throughout. So I walk into the classroom and they'll be talking about bunk beds and they're making connection to the bunk beds and how this is the same and regrouping and how, and it's really visual for the kids and very hands-on with them. With our reading and our reading and our math, we use what's called the Daily 5 or Daily 3 framework. And so what that looks like in the classroom, for reading, there's 5 rotations or stations. So one is working with the teacher, then they listen to reading, work on writing, reading with a friend, and that's a structure for the teachers then to do that small differentiated grouping and instruction. And then the kids have very specific tasks and things that they do throughout. Math looks the same way. I will tell you, when we started this 3-4 years ago, the kids would be like, why are we now writing in math? But the big thing about writing in math is really looking at word problems and being able to deconstruct what it's meaning and what it's asking. So the structures are there. Mr. Clark, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you. And then I want to say that caring school community is part of our the social emotional piece for students, and making sure that whatever they're coming from and whatever experiences they're having, whether on their way to school or on a bus, or maybe they didn't like breakfast in the morning or whatever, they get a chance to check in with the teachers in the morning. And we check in on their social emotional needs before starting with the academics. So they do a morning meeting, a greeting, they just get an opportunity to express themselves, show sympathy with one another and support one another and provide each other encouraging words to get their day started prior to just jumping into academics. And that's a big piece, and we appreciate that here. Wow, our playground.
There's snow on the ground, Mr. Clark. I don't like that picture.
Yeah. So this is our playground, which is one of the areas. So we've actually had some celebrations this year with respects to COVID. We've maximized our outdoor space for students to utilize in an effort to keep them in their respective classroom pods without crossing over, staying safe, and also continuing to have fun during their downtime, which they work hard for, and they deserve to have. So one of the main areas of play is the playground during recess, and we also have our blacktop. And we put some activities out there on the blacktop for additional ways for students to engage safely. One of the main activities that students love to participate in on a day-to-day basis, even after school, is kickball. And I don't believe our kickball diamond is shown in our illustrations here. But all that to say, there's plenty to do out there, and we're looking to add more to further maximize that space that we have. Ms. McCall, you want to talk about the buddy bench?
So it was, I believe, our PTO that got us the buddy bench. The buddy bench is if there's a student outside playing at recess and they don't have a friend or a buddy to play with, they go to sit on the bench. The kids are taught to see a friend there and go ask, do you want to play with me? Do you need help? And that's a way for the adults to know that someone's not being included, but it's also a way for the children to help a friend when they're outside at recess.
It's a beautiful thing. I may go out there when we're done with this meeting, Ms. McCulley, and see if put you to the test.
I'm in my office, Mr. Clark.
All right, so this is our kindergarten team. This is from left to right. We have Mrs. Brazlovich. We call her Mrs. B, Mrs. Morenzik, Mrs. Mauser, and to the far right, Mrs. Tilsley. all polished, experienced educators that have a passion for teaching students at the age of 5 or 6 years old. They are very fluent with communication, both proactive and reactive with parents. They work very well together as a team. They share ideas, the collaboration amongst our teams across the board. It's phenomenal. We couldn't ask for anything less. So none of them feel like they're isolated and on an island when they come up against challenges. They support each other, and they also had the support of myself and Ms. McCauley as well. Anything you want to say about them, Ms. McCauley? You have more experience with them than I do.
They're a great team. They really work and collaborate together. They problem solve with each other, and it's amazing things that they do with the 5-year-olds. And some days I'm like, oh, and they're able to get all the way through it, planting seeds, you name it. They're very about the kids experiencing, having the hands-on. COVID has restricted some of that, but they've really thought out of the box to still give the kids those experiences.
No doubt about it. All right, so we're gonna end the presentation and give you guys an opportunity to pose some questions. And you could type them in the chat, or you could just unmute yourself. I'm safe with unmuting because I feel like we can manage that, but if you're more comfortable typing in the chat, that's okay as well.
Hi, I have a question. How are you, Mr. Clark and Ms. McCauley?
I'm good. Well, thank you for asking.
Thank you.
No problem. I know that in the past, there have been some pre-kindergarten sort of social events in the summer to look forward to help get the kids kind of acclimated and maybe meet friends. With COVID, are we still kind of planning to do any of those, or is that up in the air?
So we're working with PTO to look at dates, tentative dates, and it will be later in the summer. So once we figure that piece out, you will be notified. But we haven't got that. We were working on fall events with respects to like school visits, orientation, curriculum night, those types of things. We want to get those on the calendar and then work backwards from there due to the ever-changing guidelines provided, through CDC and through the state.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I do know that Yard My Sign thing next Sunday is one way that they're trying, not that you'll be socially distanced, but when you come up, you might get to see some other families at the same time when you're out in the front to take a picture. Mr. Clark, there's a couple questions in the chat. I don't know if you caught that. They would like to know what might be going into our makerspace.
Oh, wow. A Lego wall that I'm probably gonna like set up a second office up there and just play with Legos all day until I get called for something else. But a Lego wall for one is going up. We'll have some activities around coding, and it'll be layered according to, it will be age appropriate, right? So there'll be coding activities and learning engagements in there for kindergartners, and it'll be arranged that will meet all the way up to the 4th grade needs with respects to where they are with experience with coding. Ms. McCauley, you want to touch on a couple of other things, because I was not privy to all of the things that were finalized in that committee.
And so there's the team really looked at what it will look like for a Lomond student to leave 4th grade and what skills they will have. And so they were looking at from a kindergarten experience to 1st to 2nd. So they're doing sequentially what will best. So there's the Osbots that they're looking at. So there's different experiences at the grade levels that one will build onto the other. Knowing that like kindergartners, they may have some coding experience, but getting them that experience so that one builds onto the other. One other thing that we do here at Lomond is we do Lego League. We've done that now for 2-3 years. COVID also put that a little bit on a stop, but that is an activity that happens after school. So, but we want to have that all our students here can experience those things, not just the couple that are able to be in the program after school. Please feel free to unmute if you have other questions about anything, Mr. Clark, and I will try to answer them for you.
Hi, everybody. Just a quick question. Foreign languages, what foreign languages are they going to be exposed to, and kind of like the frequency that they'll be exposed to it?
So we've adopted, so I'm sorry, let me go back. We had Mandarin and then we adopted Spanish this year. So this was our first year with Spanish. And then Spanish, are we talking about starting that in first grade, correct, Ms. McCauley?
Yeah.
So they're
So,
not, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so as part of being an IB or International Baccalaureate school, we have to offer, or not have to, it's recommended that we offer a second language. So our second language is Spanish. It starts in first grade because we really want our kindergartners to have a really good solid base on English before they're introduced to another language. They meet with the kids at least once a week for about 45 minutes once they're in first grade. When they get to fifth grade at Woodbury, they do what's called a carousel. So they'll get to experience all the languages in fifth grade prior to picking their language for sixth grade that then would carry them all the way through high school. So I believe off the top of my head, there's German, French, Spanish, Mandarin is offered then. Latin, I know, is one of them. So they'll get to experience all of that in fifth grade prior to then deciding what language they want to continue. Great question.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you explain a little bit more how if you guys do it this year, how the mixed pod, I think you said it was called, with the younger ones intermingling with the older ones, and how that works?
Yeah, that's my cup of tea, Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, last year when I said we do pods, he thought I was insane and crazy. And then once he saw it, he was like, this is amazing. So our hope would be to do it every other week. In the past, we did it once a month. It was in place of morning meeting being in the classroom, they would go to another teacher for morning meeting. So it'd be 2 kindergartners, 2 second graders, 2 first graders from each grade level would go to another teacher. It's all hands on deck. We would use Mr. Dean, our head custodian, had a group. Our nurse had a group. And it's really showing a sense of community that we all work together. We get to know each other. Some of the amazing things that came out of it is that when there was a kid struggling with a choice, they could go and visit their pod teacher, so that then there was another voice and another person, not just their classroom teacher or Mr. Clark and I, that would help them. Kids have earned rewards for doing the right thing, and they could go visit. During that pod time, they really worked on what it is to be a part of a community and how to show caring and being caring to each other within our school community, which then spreads out to our bigger community of Lomond.
And I want to add, they create their own pod names. They have their own handshake. So when they see each other, and it's not like high school transitioning from bell to bell, but when they happen to run into each other, they do their handshake. And the other piece that we're visiting now for next year with hopes, I really, really hope that we could get this off the ground, is having parents a part of the pods as well. I know there's a barrier there because of work schedules and stuff like that. But again, we're talking about building community. I don't see any other better way to do that. Parents love to volunteer, and a lot of times we struggle to expand the opportunities of volunteering. We wait until there's a celebration or something like that. No, there's learning opportunities that parents can be involved in within the building. And I want to capture this opportunity in this upcoming school year.
And one other thing that we have done in the past, and we're still in the planning for next year, was community meetings where we would bring the kindergarten, first and second graders all together as a school, which of course COVID, we don't know how that might look next year, but that's where then a class would tell about what they were learning and share with the school, and we would celebrate birthdays for that month, and it's a good sense, and parents were also invited, and then we would do third and fourth grade. Every once in a while, we bring the whole school together. So we've done different combinations of really celebrating the things that we're doing here at Lomond with all of the kids and the parents. I'm going to do a quick time check for everyone. It's about 1:40. Your optional Zoom open house items start in about 5 minutes. Mr. Clark and I will stay here if anyone has more questions, but I just didn't want you to miss out on those opportunities.
Hello, I have a question. I noticed that on the Jumpstart program, they were stating there was going to be programming for entering kindergartners this summer. Is that going to be an online program for them?
So you're talking to the right person because I'm the one that coordinates all the summer programming. So we're using registration information, and we're identifying kids that have not really had preschool experience to be invited to that. It will be in person. So you will have, if you get an invitation and you're not comfortable to have your kiddos to be in person yet, you will have the option to opt out at that point. And I see someone is asking what our mascot is, and we're the Lomond Dolphins. And Mr. Clark will share that once in a while, you'll see Miss McCauley in her dolphin costume walking around the school when there's something special to celebrate. He's just shaking my head, his head at me.
I have nothing, folks. We're taking a year off on this when we have Dolphin Dollars as part of a incentive-based reward program. So if your child comes home with Dolphin Dollars next year, that means they've done some great things, and we found a need to acknowledge that. So we're going to bring that back, and again try to enhance our incentive-based program to celebrate students following essential agreements, following and displaying IB attributes throughout the course of the day. Anything we do that can capture students being great and acknowledging it, that's what we're all about here.
What does a Dolphin Dollar get you, and what is the cash value of that Dolphin Dollar?
Well, I will say Mr. Clark's and I's Dolphin Dollars are a high commodity because ours are $2 versus the classroom teachers are only $1. And so each classroom teacher, when they earn 10, an actual dolphin goes into the ocean that's in the lunchroom. And when we get to so many dolphins in the lunchroom, we do a whole school celebration. So the one day the kids wanted donuts and we let them vote so that every kid got a donut. We've done popsicles, we've done extra recess. So we let the kids have voice and choice in that, and they get to work with their teachers and things to do that. The classroom teachers are amazing. They do within the classroom, like when they earn a total of 10 for a dolphin, they do a celebration within the classroom for the kids working together to make the right choices.
Good question. It's not, we need to work on patenting this because we got people, that was a slick question there. So we're going, the optional Zoom sessions begin at 1:45, correct? Yeah, from 1:45 to 2, okay. So we're good on time.
I'm looking at some of the topics on optional breakout session. One is school nurse. For all of you to know, we have Nurse Exum that's here the whole time that we're here. So she's full-time with us, which is amazing. So that if there's any emergency, she's available, or if your child has allergies or needs medication or any of those types of things, Nurse Exum's here and she's able to handle those. If you have medications that your child needs to take during the day, there's a form that you have to fill out every year before she's allowed to be able to administer or do that. I know she has inhalers, she has EpiPens as far as if kids need them here at school. So that's why it's important to have our Nurse Exum here with us. Carter, are you raising your hand? Do you have a question? Yeah, Mom's like, no.
I had one more quick question, and it might be something that you really can't answer, but I know with COVID, just generally speaking, it was a transition for all students, but kindergartners more so than anybody because, you know, they didn't know what to expect and this is all new to them. What did you all find as far as the new implementation of the the barriers, the social distancing? Is there anything that we can do over the summer to help prepare the kindergartners to transition if that happens to be what we walk into in August?
Get them used to wearing a mask. These kindergartners have been phenomenal. They honestly, I'm not trying to sell it. They modeled what we were expected. I've had zero issues with really any student, to be honest, with respects to coming in, hand sanitizing upon arrival. If they need reminders to pull their mask up, they simply just do so. If a student's having a bad day or what have you not, we give them, they normally would come either to myself or Miss McCauley. And we give them their space that they need, give them time to reflect. And normally that means they're pulling their mask down, and that's part of, I'm okay with that. We get them together and we get them back into their learning space. Kindergartners have been great, to say the least. I don't know. They've been model citizen students, and they've done everything and beyond what we can ask them to do. It has not been an issue at all. When we ask them to line up in a hallway and be 6 feet apart with the respected spaces that we've identified on the floor, we have stickers on the floor to reinforce the spacing the social distancing that we're asking. They're lining up. It's almost like military. They go straight to their spots. And their line order it doesn't take much. They want to do what's right. They're kids, right? They want to please. They want to do what's right, and that's exactly what they've done up to this point.
Mr. Clark, I'd like to add, it's really attributed to our amazing kindergarten team. So
Yeah.
Our teachers, when they came in, when they were allowed to be in person, really take the time to teach the expectations to the kids. They don't assume that the kids already know, so that we need you to be here. And then they also explain why. So they give them the why, like, we have to have our masks on because you need to stay safe and you need to keep others safe. So, and there's a lot of teaching, especially at kindergarten. Being in school is different than being in preschool. And so, like, they are very thoughtful on how they teach the things to the kids prior to pandemic, and especially during the pandemic, of making sure that they keep them safe.
Yeah.
It is 1:45. If you want to head to another breakout room, that's fine. Mr. Clark and I are happy to stay here if you have other questions. There was just a question in the chat, Mr. Clark.
Yeah. I'll be just open and honest. If anybody wants to see the building, just call the building. Let me know, and I can get you guys in here and give you a tour. Whatever I need to make everything right and make you as a family feel normal, I'm willing to accommodate that.
I will share that yesterday I had lunch with 2 remote kindergartners. They're at home learning. And as I had lunch with them, I'm like, how about I get on my phone? And I walked them around the building so they could see the building, because they haven't been in the building. So there's ways to do it. If you're not comfortable coming in, Mr. Clark and I can jump on our phone and be in a Google Meet and walk you around and show you the building also.
And for me, I'm just, again, I have nothing to gain here. I can do it on a Saturday or a Sunday as well. I live 3 minutes up the road. My boys
Mr. Clark beat 5 minutes.
Yeah. My boys are both current Lomond students in 2nd and 4th grade. So this is a second home for me. And again, I'm here to do right by you.
I have a question. How does drop off work? So, I mean, right now he's in pre-K, right? So I have to sign him in and do all these special things. But I don't know how it works. Like once he gets there, how does
That's
it work?
It's like dropping the mic and walk away.
As long as he's not hanging on your leg crying, because we do have some of those usually the first week or 2 of kindergarten. With COVID, we have a way more are a higher percentage of people that do actual drop off and pick up from the car. So depending if you are in the busing, receiving busing, so that's about, if you're within a mile of the school, you're considered a walker. Outside the mile, you will get a bus if you're comfortable with your kid being on the bus. We have, is that Strand Hill, Mr. Clark, where the parents, you pull up, there's adults and staff out there. Actually, right now, Mr. Clark and I are always out there in the morning. They get out of the cars, they go to the door that's designated for their class, and they walk in, and we have them go in all different doors to get the hand sanitizer and get them in quicker. And the reverse happens at the end of the day. The walkers go out, the bus kids get on the bus, and then the car pickup. It's a little slower. We've gotten it down to about 15 minutes for all the kids to be picked up. You get a little placard for your car that says your student's name and their teacher. So we don't just put kindergartners into a random car. So if you have multiple people that pick up your children, we just give you the placard, and we expect you to give them to the people that should be picking them up. They pull up, we yell the name, we put the kid in the car, and you go on.
I can
So there's
attest.
none of this sign out, sign in. Now, if your kid is late to school or being picked up early, you do have to sign out in a log. But other than that, there's not the sign in, sign out.
We live in the blue house across from the pickup, and I'm always amazed at how fast y'all are doing the pickup. So good job.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, well, thank you.
And my son is very excited to finally come to school next
He'll get across the street.
year. Yep.
Awesome. All right, we don't have any more questions. We're gonna put an end to this meeting, and you know where we are. It was great meeting you all. This almost feels normal, but I'm just not there yet. So until I meet you guys in person, I won't be satisfied. So to say the least, we appreciate the questions. Very good dialogue shared today. Email at any time, call the building at any time. And we look forward to the fall.
Say bye.
Bye.